Alright, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another DC Worlds Collide video. This is Mr. Squirrel, as always. Glad to have you here. So, I wanted to make a video talking about the Sacrifice Badge Team Priority List. And again, this is not the Aquaman tier list. This is the Sacrifice. So people are going to be like, but he works on other teams. I know, guys, but this is not about Aquaman only. This is about the Sacrifice team itself. We're looking at Pandora team synergy. And I want to talk a little bit about prioritizing the Pandora team synergy, and kind of just overall how this team would generally work. The first thing I am going to get out of the way, and I'm going to talk about these two right immediately because they are the tanks and they go insanely well together, is going to be Aquaman and Mera. Now, Aquaman, I want to be a little... here's the thing about Aquaman. Is that I want to talk a little bit about him because he's kind of interesting in that his badge is very good. And I love badge 20 because it gives recuperate. His badge 30 is a little redundant. And not redundant. It's just, I don't think it's fully needed unless you're running a very slow Aquaman, which again, I don't know if it's the best. There needs to be a lot more testing with him. I'm still working on him. There's a lot going on with his kit and it's like, do we want to run him slow? And then, he has a little bit better, with his the School of Fish ability, but then he doesn't have his other passive moving where, he's giving strong attack and healing. So it's like, I like him fast, to be just frank with you guys. I really like him. I like having a fast Aquaman. But that might not be the best way to play. I'm still working with it. I'm still trying to figure it out. But a couple things I do want to talk about with his badge is that his badge, I more care about the stats his badge are giving than what it actually is doing, because he gets damage reduction off of his badge. And the thing about these two, now Mera, I do want to explain something about Mera. Her badge 20 is probably one of the better badge 20s in the game. It's every time her HP is sacrificed, she gains 5% damage reduction and then 20%, and 10% attack. Now, why is that so amazing? Because it'll go up to 20% damage reduction. It's 50% attack. It's either 40 or 50% attack. It's one of the two. Now, I don't remember right off the top of my head. I apologize for the attack. Here's the thing with the damage reduction. That means she goes from 35% to 55% max damage reduction. On top of that, there's another part to that. On top of that, that also just, what am I trying to say here? That means that, now my brain, I had the massive brain fart there. Forgive me. When she first triggers her passive, because she's sacking HP and she gets the Zebul's armor, she actually is autoed at 40% damage reduction versus 35. That's a big deal, right? Now, I don't know how that's going to interact with him. I doubt he gets that. I just don't think that operates the same way. I think he just gets the passive Zebul armor. I don't think he's going to get the bonus of the damage reduction because it's part of her passive. So I don't think that would work that way. I need to test it to see if that actually does. That's going to take some testing to figure out. Now, the thing with it though, is so she wants to be at 20 and then you can stop because her 30 is not that great. But him, he gets a lot of damage reduction. He might be one of the first characters to actually want to try to push to badge 40 because here's the thing that happens when you combine the Zebul armor of 35% plus him at 40% at badge 40. He has 25% damage reduction at badge 40, right? Well, 25 plus 35 is 60. That means he is sitting at a constant 60% damage reduction at all times. That might be a little overkill in terms of just... that is absolute nuttiness. Personally, I think most people should just stop him at 25. I think at 25, he's sitting at a cool 45% damage reduction with Zebul armor at all times. 45% damage reduction with 100% crit damage reduction. So he is very tanky at badge 25. So this is going to be a character 25, get her to 20, call it a day. They both work there. Now, let's talk a little bit about one of the main badge 30s of this team, and that's actually going to be the leader. Her badge 30 essentially makes it so she gets a point back when she ults. Now, if you're also running the Canary Bomb on her, she's getting another point the first time. I mean, there's so much going on with the Canary Bomb on her. Like the Canary Bomb and her badge 30 make her ult refund a ton of 2 points the first time you use it, which means you're pretty much just cycling through ults on this team really fast. Overall makes this team very, very good. I think her badge 30 is almost like a priority. But at the same time, you don't want to put it too much into that because you still need to get your damage dealers up. Now, there's two interesting ones here. Now, I'm going to say Fate has an amazing badge 30. He gets damage amp, like a ton of damage amp. When his passive is procced at badge 30, it also his badges, I think, are really nicely spread out. And you can just kind of badge him up. I think overall it works out very, very well. I think he's a great character to be badging up. Now, let's just say you don't have him. So we're going to talk a little bit about Constantine has an interesting badge. I think you really do want to badge 30 him up because he's going to be your other DPS on this team no matter what. So for that fact, because you're running the sacrifice team with Aquaman, you really do want to prioritize this man because if you don't have Fate's very good, but the issue with Fate is that not everybody has him. He's hard to get. Like, let's just be real about that. If you have him, great. If you don't have him. So what do you do in that case, right? Well, then you need to prioritize him and her. AoE, big damage, single target damage, right? And you're going to put someone else on this team too, and that's going to be Carol. The reason I say badge 30 but is that her badge 30 is good. And again, I'm going to say for damage dealers and tanks, you're getting bonus stats and that makes them do more damage. Like Constantine gets a lot of crit damage. You know what I mean? She gets damage amp and I think life steal, right? No, speed and I think life steal. I don't remember. Hers isn't so much damage, but that badge 30 is so good on her. So I mean, there is that. I put a couple other characters in here. I'm literally just going to do this for right now. Because I'm going to just say meh right now, especially for him, because he's going to get a buff. So we don't know with him, but he does have sacrifice on him. The reason I say these two, they work, but they are definitely not a priority on the team. I mean, him, you do want to get the badge. He has a really interesting badge 30, but it's more of like weaken and burn based than it is anything else. So I would say it's not a priority. He's there to just make it so your other characters aren't dying and your Aquaman doesn't die. But I actually don't like him on this team just simply because he's not doing enough damage. Like the team, these two are tanking so well that you need to prioritize more damage, which is why one of the things that it cannot be underestimated is that when you're badging your team up, that you are getting so many stats on your tank and so much damage from your damage dealers when you badge them up. Badging is probably one of the most beneficial components to this game. I mean, one of the biggest damage and defensive amps to this game that you really can't negate the power that it has over your characters. And so one of the interesting things that I say like badge 30 but is that you got to factor in that I say badge 20 because badge materials are very hard to come by. And especially the Intertron, the yellow ones, the tier 3 version of your Intertron, right? Alloys. Those are very hard to come by. Now, I will say I am genuinely very interested to see this man go beyond rank like 30 to actually rank 40 because I think his rank 40 is very interesting, right? I mean, Fate also, I will say his badge 30 is nutty. But I'd say of anyone, and this is not because I think it's actually crazy, it's decent. His badge 30 in terms of the badge itself is decent, but you can't underestimate that if you're running a sacrifice team, this man is probably going to be one of the core components of that team, and he is doing so much damage that it's really important that you kind of badge him up just solely for the stats. Especially since if he dies, your team does lose a lot of buffs in terms of strong attack and recuperate buffs. And he is your main damage dealer, one of your main damage dealers. I mean, she's very good too, but he's going to be outputting so much damage that it really can't be understated that you really should be badging characters up too, because it's the stats. And a lot of times when I see people talk about, oh, this character sucks, this character's good, I'm like, well, what's your badge rank at them? Not just because of what the badges are actually doing, but it's also a stat difference. Like there is truly some very, him getting damage reduction on his badge is phenomenal. It makes his badge 40 legitimately kind of scary because he's sitting at a consistent 60% damage reduction, right? Like that's nutty, guys. A consistent 60% damage reduction. Do you need that? No. I actually think getting, again, badge 25 and stop, because then he's sitting at a cool 45 the whole fight. He's sitting at a cool 45% damage reduction. He's essentially sitting at what Grodd has, and with legendary stats, what Grodd has in the beginning of the fight, at the start of the fight, he's sitting with that the whole fight. And also the 100% crit damage reduction, which Grodd does not have. And there is a lot of damage from crits. So this man is tanky. That's why I say get him to 25. And again, I would prioritize these two. So 2020, 25-20, and get these two because they're going to be such a core component of this team. You do not want to like bypass them. Hers, especially because she'll allow you to cycle through ulting on your team so well. He is just such a core component that everyone has as well. I say this because I don't know if everyone has Fate. Now, Fate's badge 30 is absolutely nutty. I don't want to take that away. His badge 30 is going to amp up his damage like crazy. It does take a little bit to proc it though. So it's very good, but it just take note, it does take a little bit to get that thing going because you do need people to proc it with the ulting. It's not like out of nowhere he's going to get 50% damage amplification. It's going to take a minute to pop to get it, and it's very situational. Not very situational. It takes a minute is my point. So he won't have it right away. Fate is one of those characters that gets very, very, very strong as the fight goes on. As the fight progresses, this man, by the end of the fight, he will probably be one of the strongest characters on your team, just outright. But Constantine is just really good in the beginning of a fight. He is one that's just going to be outputting tons of AoE damage, and she's going to be outputting, Pandora's going to be outputting tons of single target damage while healing. And then, I mean, Carol's very much like a backup support character. I treat this as these are your damage dealers, really. And then this is like, he is also a damage dealer, but he's like backup. He's more of like a utility, really heavy damage dealer and closer of the fight. And these two are just tanking outright a ton in the beginning. That's my general consensus, the way I want to order the badging. And people are going to argue with me. And I'm going to say this, guys, I'm always arguing from a new player. I'm not a new player. I'm arguing for people that are just like, where do I go and how do I be safe with like my spending on like spending like my resources? You really, I mean, again, is his badge, are the badges themselves nutty? No, but it does not hurt to invest those stats into this character because he will do lots and lots of damage, and those stats are not wasted on him. That's my point. I would prioritize, like, you want to get them to 10 and then move on to the 20. And then especially these two, you really like her is so important to get her to 20 because she just becomes so tanky at that point. And really builds up and really interacts really well with Fate at the same time. Okay, that's my general consensus on the way that I would badge up this team and to do it efficiently so you're not burning through your resources super duper crazily. Again, I would say my rule of thumb is 20, 25. You do really want to get these, especially like these two are like, his 30 is actually not bad though. His 25 is like, it's okay, but his 30 does give him some more damage. Not crazy amounts of damage, but it does, again, his stat and crit damage boost is very good. And so you want to build crit rate on this man because he's doing a lot of crit damage. His is very good in terms of damage amplification, but it will take time for his badge to build up. So he is definitely my closer of a fight versus the opener of a fight. All right, folks, I hope this helps with breaking down the information where you should go with your badges. And as always, remember, failing is just your first attempt in learning.